Hello everybody, how's it going, and welcome back to the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast. Usually exclusive to patreon.com/, as always, although this is 48 hours early, I think, or something like that, but it should be on YouTube, I don't know. Anyway, I'm fucking James, and I'm joined as always by Tyler.
As always, mate, it's a terrible intro. That's top three worst intros this year, man.
I've been thrown off.
You've done some bad ones. You've done some bad ones, I'll give you that, but that's up there.
Yeah. Well, I'm used to doing either Kill Connor Club or Kill Connor Clubhouse, and so this is throwing me off.
Yeah, this is a special one because, one, it's on YouTube, but that's for a special reason. It's only early access to Patreon because, one, we want to give Christmas gift, and sometimes we've got to advertise what the clubhouses are like to get people to jump to Patreon and join the crew. But this is also full spoiler cast for Star Wars The Last Jedi. So if you're here, make sure you have seen Star Wars The Last Jedi first. Don't come over here thinking, oh, let's hear their opinions. We're going to spoil everything. So,
we are going to do that.
Yeah. This is a complete spoiler cast. If you don't want to see it, I'm telling you, go and see it, then come back and listen to this. We'll kind of start off, we'll do a general, thoughts, and then we'll kind of go into it. And James, I want to go into it character by character.
Okay.
If that makes sense when we start talking about this and breaking it down. So, yeah, okay. Also, like James said, this is the Kill Connor Clubhouse, powered by, as always, on patreon.com/as always. And we've just got a few of the sweet vintage lads to thank for supporting us on this podcast. We have Ben, or Moderox, Ballsack47, T-Man, Travis, Kizek, Billy, the Team Dynamite Captain Robertson, Josh Devilier, Damien, Mario5380, Lumistrad, Brian Ford, new friend, Brian Ford, new sweet vintage lad. We have Connor DeRose, Ginger Nut, Jared, Big Up, Long-Eared Fox and Fox, George Welford, Joshua Mora, Gene, Marcus Blackburn, The Humble Worm, Nimbus, Seth, Tom Cunningham, Oscar, Rabjai, Zach Neely, Son of a Bitch, OG Doggo, Tyler Tranter, Brendan, or BQ Overlord, and Pink Flame, 313. Thank you, Sweet Vintage Lads, for helping power this podcast. Now, James, first off, question for you. You've seen the Star Wars: The Last Jedi twice now, as have I.
Good. What
are your thoughts on Star Wars: The Last Jedi overall, and kind of what was the comparison between your first viewing and your second viewing?
Okay. I think it's a fucking great movie, and I enjoyed it the first time a lot. I thought it was great. The first time I watched it, I thought it was better than The Force Awakens. I had a really good time. And I mean, a lot of people were saying to me, like, "Oh, it's not that good." And I mean, I've seen a lot of people in the set saying it's like the worst Star Wars movie, like it's terrible. But I mean, there's always going to be people doing that. But I've seen a lot of people doing that. It seems like it's sort of really, really split between people that love it and people that hate it. But I loved it the first time I watched it, and when I watched it the second time, I mean, I just loved it even more because there were so many more things I noticed that, like, things that I didn't like the first time. I was like, oh, that makes more sense, or like, I don't know, when you're watching it the first time and it's sort of switching between the stuff with Rey and Kylo, and then it's switching back to like Finn and Rose and whatever. You're kind of like, I don't really want to see what Finn's doing right now. Like, the stuff with Rey is far more interesting. But the second time I watched it, it's sort of like, you know the story, like, you know what's going on. So, I mean, I wasn't super desperate to go back to, stuff with Rey and Kylo and Luke and whatever. So, I just enjoyed each scene for what it was, and it was just a way better overall movie the second time I watched it. But overall, I think it was fucking great. I still do think that it was structured a little bit weird in the way that, like, some of the scenes, like I said, with Finn and Rose and stuff were a little bit, like, just not quite as interesting as the stuff with Rey. But, I mean, other than that, I don't really have too much else that I think is necessarily wrong with the movie. I mean, there's a few things to do with the plot, but in terms of just sort of as a movie, I think it's really, really good, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay. I feel like you'll probably like this movie more than I did. And I'll give it this, right? So I really enjoyed, I've seen it twice. I love Star Wars: Last Jedi. I do. I really love it. Now, I'm willing to admit this. Part of my love for it is it's Star Wars. And Star Wars can kind of get away with things that other things in my life can't get away with. Like Star Wars means a lot to me, but I'll give you an example, right? Lord of the Rings is my favorite movies of all time. And when The Hobbit came out, it wasn't as good as The Lord of the Rings. And when it had issues, I like went after it because I care so much about it. Sure, I do care so much about Star Wars, but I feel like this movie gave a lot of fan service and did a lot of cool moments I never expected to happen. So it's not some Empire Strikes Back reboot, like carryover, like The Force Awakens was for A New Hope. It was its own movie. It felt like Star Wars to me, and I loved pretty much all the characters. And overall, I thought, like pretty much what you said. The first time I watched it, I really was bored at some bits. Everything's heightened the first time I watched it. So the things I thought were average, I really didn't like. And the things I thought were like really good was like an out of body fucking experience, the greatest thing of all time sort of thing. Like that's what it was like. It was the second time, it was kind of like I just kind of balanced it all out. Yep. Enjoyed the whole movie as a whole for what it was. Thought it was really good. Now, in saying that, there is a lot of fucking problems with this movie. There's like a lot. Like it's too much.
Are you going to go all Assassin's Creed movie on me and ruin it for me now?
I'm going to, there might be some things I might ruin for you.
Okay.
But like I've listened to a lot of criticisms, right? Because I wanted to understand people's problems with it so that I could have a full scope. And there's plenty that I can kind of, having a second viewing, can rebuttal to these people that have issues with it, right? So, I mean, maybe let's talk about some issues first, and then we'll kind of break down each character. But like, just in general, I still love the movie. I think it's great, and I think it's obviously way better than all the prequels. I think it stands amongst the really good Star Wars movies. I'm of the opinion that this movie will be one of the most popular Star Wars movies in years to come, whereas right now it's really polarizing because it's going to take some time for people to accept it. But I also think I thought a lot rode on The Force Awakens for how good The Last Jedi was. Because everyone's like the big defense of The Force Awakens is like they did what they had to do by making A New Hope. The next movie will be really different because people's complaints was too similar. Now this movie's so different, and people's complaints is it's gone too far outside the box. And I'm like, well, we've got to find a balance here because you can't just keep everything you want. They've got to try new things, go outside the box, and I appreciate it. And like the polarizing things is they made decisions, right? They made a lot of decisions, answered a lot of questions. Do you like the answers is the real question. Some people do. I do for most things, not all things, but for most things I do. Some people didn't like the answers they got. Whether it's the Snoke stuff, Rey's parents, the Kylo Ren stuff, Luke, everything. Like some things I really like, some things I didn't. Some people hated all of it, some people loved all of it. Like it is one of those things. It's just look at the end of the day, it's a matter of opinion and what your taste is, what you preferred, what you kind of predicted for the film itself. And I feel like there are still some big issues. Like the Finn Rose storyline is an issue. What's the Jurassic Park lady? What's her character's name? Vice Admiral what?
Holdo,
that's it.
Yeah.
I think it's Vice Admiral's her rank. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Vice Admiral Holdo. I'll tell you what. My problem with The Last Jedi is my big problem with the whole movie is it's good. It is good for what it is. It's good. It could easily be way better. That's my big issue because I'm going to drop a scenario on you later on in the spoiler cast of what I think they could have easily done and fixed the whole fucking movie.
Okay.
Like, so something like Vice Admiral Holdo, for example. Let's break down her character storyline.
Okay.
So she, correct me if I'm wrong here, James.
Okay.
So she shows up once Leia is out of commission.
Yeah.
That whole Leia thing was fucking stupid as well. Like,
no,
so
don't do this to me.
I'm sorry. There's three problems I don't like. I'll give you my three right now. I don't have a problem with Leia using the Force. That makes sense. She gets blown up and then she's all fine in space and then floats to the ship. First of all, bullshit and stupid.
Well, how do you know the Force can't do that? The Force can do whatever it wants. The Force has done so much shit in the past. It's just like, oh, the Force could do that too. It's like you didn't even like when you watch A New Hope. You're letting
it get away. Shit, like, man. You're using the Force to let this movie get away with dumb shit.
I don't think so. Like when you watch A New Hope, you don't even know the Force can lift objects. That just happens in Empire. Like Luke just pulls the lightsaber out of
She's
the
alive
snow.
in space. It's not about float. It's not even
Yeah,
just
but
about the
like, there's
floating
plenty
in
of
space.
things like in Legends where there's
Everyone
like
got
loads of force
obliterated, and
powers.
she's
Like,
just totally fine. She's just totally fine. She's just icy. No, you're in space with no oxygen. Your head pops off. That's how it works. That's how space
but
works.
it's the Force, so like you
No,
you can
what do
be
you mean it's
protected.
not
Like,
the
but
Force? She doesn't
there's
have
a
a force
like,
shield on her, bro.
how do you know?
What? You can't. But
The
they don't
Force
explain.
can do cool things. Like, you don't like, like
You can,
like in
I
Legends,
can
there's like
accept that
force
when you. I
powers
can.
like that can revive people after they're dead. Like, that's the thing that was in Legends.
I would rather that have happened. I'd rather that have
I just
happened.
think it was so fucking cool.
I don't think
It's
it was that
like,
cool.
oh, she
And I
used
do,
the Force, and
and
like,
this
it was
and Carrie
awesome.
Fisher's not that great an actress in these movies anyway. Like, she was great in the original trilogy. I love Carrie Fisher, and she's had a million Botoxes injected into her face. So I get the fact that she sounds ridiculous, and she sounds like a lady that's had a lot of Botox. She doesn't even act like Princess Leia, but I don't care because it's Carrie Fisher. She's there. I'm happy. No, you're not going to get any complaints from me about that. But I'm not going to excuse the fact just because it's Carrie Fisher and it's awesome. Because it wasn't. It was stupid. Like, that was a stupid
I like
moment.
it though. I like it.
You can like it, but there's no you can't by one not explaining it at all and just saying it's the Force. At this
But they
point, it's
never
going to
explain the Force though.
but they do. Like, Luke literally spent a lot of time explaining the Force to Rey. That's the whole point of it. But also, you can't, if you're gonna sit there and make the excuse of use the Force, use the Force, Force can do extreme cool random shit whenever. You're gonna allow these movies and Disney to take this down a dark path. There has to be a line somewhere, and that's probably my line. It's not that far past the line, but that's probably my line. Is shit like that.
I mean, I think that
It didn't ruin the movie for me, man. It didn't ruin the movie for me or anything. But I'm not gonna sit here and argue and tell people that's normal and good.
Sure, I think I get what you're saying. I think that if you take that, like, I mean, I think the Force can be used in interesting ways, but I think if it's a way that's used to, I just feel like it was used in such a way that it didn't affect the plot too much. Like, it wasn't like, all of a sudden, oh, now you can use the Force, and when you, like, click your fingers, someone dies. It's like, we're just introducing that now. It's kind of like, I think I give it a pass because it's like, well, the Force can kind of do ridiculous shit. And so...
It just looked stupid too. It was the bigger problem was it also looked weird. Like, it looked like some...
I didn't think that. George said that.
It just wasn't done well. It looked weird and looked ridiculous, and I cringed. Well, as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh no. I was like, oh no, don't do this. Not this way.
That's so disappointing.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Snoke was obviously a fail, and he was so good.
We're talking
so
about
fucking amazing.
Fucking what's her name? Vice Admiral Holdo. What happened?
So once Leia gets out of commission with a ridiculous Force seam,
Uh-huh.
Holdo shows up randomly, and let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So I understand, this is my argument for anyone that's annoyed at this, like, Leia Holdo situation, how Holdo acts really annoying as a leader and is not telling Poe her plans, and people are like, and then all of a sudden she's nice to him. It didn't make any fucking sense. I'm like, it does, because that's Poe's storyline in this is Leia wants him to be the next leader of the rebellion. But he needs to learn some lessons on the way, and he made mistakes. In the first scene, he made the mistakes because, sure, they took down that dreadnought. Great space battle scene as well at the start. Even though I didn't think it was the right way to start the movie. I think you should have started with Rey and Luke because that's what we'd been waiting for. And I remember once the space battle ended, that space battle should have been really enjoyable. But as soon as Luke and Rey showed up, both times I've seen the movie, I've heard someone go, finally. You know what I mean? Like, that's what people were actually waiting to see. And that should have been the first while of the movie, to me anyway. But anyway, I'll go back to Holdo. Poe's storyline as a character was to become the leader, but he had lessons to learn. He can't just think, as Leia said, you can't just jump in your X-Wing and blow shit up.
Yeah.
And he learned that story arc, and she needed to kind of discipline him. It was kind of a discipline thing. That's what Leia was doing, and Leia and Holdo are kind of on the same page, and they're friends. You didn't know that. They were trying to make you hate her, which I thought was stupid. I honestly thought you could have had a scene with Leia and Holdo before she was introduced. Like in this early part where they're talking about Poe and what they want from him. Not very specifically and just setting it out for you like you're dumb, but kind of just like talking about they're not happy with how he's doing and what he needs to be doing. And then you kind of get what her intentions are, right? That she's not a bad leader, that she's just got our own plans, and that Poe needs to fucking learn his place before he can become a leader. Before you can be a leader, you need to be a follower. To lead, you need to be able to follow. So he learns that, and in the end, it comes full circle because when he and Rose and Finn are charging at that like massive cannon at the end in the last battle, he goes, "We've got to pull away. It's a suicide mission. We're not going to make it." Boom, full circle. He learned his lesson, and what does he get rewarded by? That character development. Is it great? It's not the greatest thing ever, but it was good. I liked his character development. And then when he goes, "Okay, guys, we've got to go this way," everyone looks at Leia. Leia goes, "Don't look at me, follow him," because she thinks he's proven himself. It all makes sense. There you go, nice little ribbon. But it wasn't done. It could have been done better. You know what I mean? And that's what I think the big part of The Last Jedi is. Everything was fine. Some things were great, like Luke, Kylo Ren, Rey, fucking amazing. But these storylines on the side were just fine to me. They were bearable, but they easily could have been better with a couple of twinks.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the sad thing about it. I'll defend this movie. It's good. But, like, I don't get me wrong. There are issues here that easily could have been fixed. Easily could have been fixed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think with Holdo, I mean, I feel like part of, I mean, it still bothers me because it's stupid, but like, I feel like the point was we're meant to be seeing her from Poe's point of view, so it kind of makes sense when he has that sort of like, oh shit, I was doing all the wrong thing, but like it's kind of annoying because she's just being such a cunt the whole time. And then all of a sudden she's like
patting his face.
She's like, oh, I like that guy. No, you fucking don't. You didn't like him at all. Oh god.
I got a question for you. Well, not a question, but like, if I say this, how do you react to this? Okay. Rian Johnson had a whole list on a board of like, I feel like this movie, when in the writing process, was a working backwards process.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Rian Johnson didn't have. I have all these ideas of what I want to happen to these characters. So if these all things happen, where will these characters end up? He was like, okay, the characters are here at the start, and I want them to be there at the end. Okay, well, priority number one's Rey. Okay, then it's Kylo and Luke. But if we're going to do that with them to get there, all the rest kind of have to fit into the storylines. But we need to give them something to do. So like there were all these end goals. They wanted Luke to die, but accept like the Jedi, or, you know, everything to learn from his failures. They wanted Rey to kind of be in that position. They wanted Kylo to be he had the opportunity to turn, and now it's too late. It's too far. There's no chance for him coming good. They needed all these things to happen, right? But to do that, I feel like they weren't. That gave them less creative ideas for the middle meat of it, if that makes sense. And I know this sounds like I don't like the movie, like I really do, but like there were just so many things that could have been better. You know what I mean? Like there were some creative choices I'm like, I don't make sense to me. Like how did you decide that specifically? Like do you want to talk about? We'll break down characters. Do you want to talk about Luke first? Sure. What did you think of Luke's storyline and how it all kind of went down for him?
I think Luke was handled pretty well. I don't think there was much I would have changed about it, to be honest. I think it was all pretty good from start to finish. I think it made sense. I mean, when we were talking about the movie before it came out, we were also like, oh, I don't want him to kind of be just like, oh, I don't want to train Rey. I feel like that's not Luke. But I don't know. I don't know. To me, it made sense in the movie. I think kind of the way he was acting and stuff, and sort of his whole storyline. I mean, I don't know. I think it made sense, and I think it worked, and I think it was pretty good on the whole.
Mark Hamill stole the movie for me. I was really worried that Mark Hamill would be playing Mark Hamill being an old guy.
Yeah.
That's what I was really worried about. I wasn't sure. I was like, can he be Luke again? It's been so long. He was in every way. It was Luke Skywalker. It was the exact character I know. It wasn't Mark Hamill. I was watching Luke, but old Luke. His character made sense, but his reactions to things like Chewie walking in, that's exactly like the way he just goes, Chewie, what are you doing here? That's exactly what...
He's got the same voice as well. Like, it's like spot on. It was really good.
I literally saw young Luke in that. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
so did I. It was really good.
I could see it. I thought he stole the movie. I thought his acting was fantastic. I love the way he kind of talked to Rey, tried to figure her out, like, and just those, they're just nuances in the way he saw the Jedi I liked, and the way he brought up, like, way he talks about, he doesn't even say Obi-Wan's name, he just said it was a Jedi that trained Darth Vader and allowed this to happen. It was the Jedi's arrogance that let Darth Sidious rise and the Empire to rise and blah, 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 and then Rey's like, yeah, but it was you that saved him. And then he talks about, he's like, yeah, but then you become a legend, and when you're a legend, you can't fail. So when you fail, that's it. Your legend dies. So he saw his failures as the death of like him and his ideas and his ideals and everything he ever did. And it's interesting to see that way, but that's why I thought the Yoda coming was like, finally he kind of lets the Force in again, and then Yoda shows up and it's like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, I thought his story arc was great, and this is an issue that I've heard from people, right, complaining about the movie. So when it comes to Luke's ending, right, so Luke comes to what's the planet called? The Salt Planet?
Crate. So he shows up at Crate, but he's a Force hologram. So he looks young, and he looks really like Luke from The Last Jedi, from the Return of the Jedi. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you know, it was a great epic scene, but then you find out like he's a hologram, and he was just there to pretty much test Kylo, you know, just to see where he's at and how far he'd go, how far he's gone, essentially. But also to help, you know, the rebels get away and, you know, start anew, and it was all a symbolic thing. Yeah. But then he just disappears. So the first time I watched it, the first time I left the movie, right, I was really conflicted about the whole movie. Like, I had some of my favorite moments in Star Wars history watching this movie. I jumped out of my seat when Yoda showed up, when Luke and the Kylo battle, when Rey and Kylo teamed up, I was losing my fucking mind. Like, there was those moments. But then there was like certain things like this Force hologram and all these different, the Carrie, like the Leia bit, the Snoke dying bit, and all these different things. I was like, I don't know if I like the decisions they made. And they answered too much as well. Like, that was another thing. Like, I turned so Snoke dies. I know we're talking about Luke, but I just want to say this real quick. So Snoke dies, and then Holdo flies the cruiser into the ships, like it goes to hyperspeed, which is one of the best scenes of the fucking movie. Unreal, like where it goes silent. Great. Both times I've seen it, everyone in the audience gasps when you hear it because it goes silent all of a sudden. Beautiful, amazing. The visuals in this movie are incredible. Very well directed in terms of look and style. But I remember once that happened, so Snoke has just died. Kylo and Rey are like got hand to hand, like about to touch hands, and then that hyperspeed space thing goes through, and I turn to my friend and I go, "There's an episode 9, right?" You know, because they're just doing everything now. They're just doing like the 2 movies in one movie, like storyline wise. I was so confused about what's happening. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I was conflicted, right, the first time. So when it comes to Luke at the end, he's it's Force hologram, and then he just disappears, floats away. And I'm like, what the fuck? Was he just like, oh, I give up now. Oh, that's it. Like, I was confused. I didn't get it. I was a bit like, I don't understand why he just died from that. Like, did he choose to die? Has he just decided that? Like, I'm like, I guess so. Now, the second time I saw it, I picked up on a line that made the kind of justifies it and also foreshadows it. Yeah. And it's which of all the Force lore changes and things they added, the best one by far, which is the highlights of the whole movie to me, which was Rey and Kylo's connection by the Force. Fucking awesome. Yeah. Fucking awesome scenes. They were the best scenes of the movie with them together. And just them, like, at first she's just calling him treacherous snake, and he's just kind of like calm, cool, and collected about it. And she's like, you're a monster. And he's like, yes, I am. And then later he tells his perspective of this story, and you're like, oh, wow, that's weird. And as soon as he goes, did he tell you what happened? I got really interested. I'm like, oh, what's Luke? Oh, what did Luke do? And just to see that perspective. But Kylo in the first scene, when she kind of shoots the wall, when they first feel each other's presence, and he runs out in the hallway and he looks in the distance and he's like, I can see you, but not your surroundings. He's like, he looks around again and he goes, you're not doing this. It would destroy you. And I'm like,
okay, so they're showing that these force connections like that to place yourself in a different space and time when you're a physical form, it has consequences. So if you're really powerful, you can do something like that. But imagine projecting your own force body to somewhere else, and not just like one person can see you, but everybody sees you. Like everyone could see Luke.
Yeah.
To that level. So to that then destroyed him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand now. I'm like, okay, am I happy with that force ability? I'm not happy with it. I don't care. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I like
It makes enough sense, and it had consequences to it that it killed him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took his physical force away.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
feel
Now
like
he's
with that force ability, the thing with all force abilities, the super powerful, they sort of have to have a consequence. I mean, with something that powerful, like especially what Luke did, like it killed him. So that's a pretty huge fucking consequence. And with Kylo and Rey, I mean, Snoke says it was him connecting them, but I don't think it was actually him connecting them, because after he's dead, they still connect at the end of the movie. So
yes, they do.
it's definitely something. There's something more there for sure. So it's not them actively doing it. So it's that's not going to have consequences. But
So kind of transitioning from Luke then to Rey and Kylo, because they're kind of like, you can't really talk about one without the other in this movie, because their storyline is completely intertwined and paralleled. Yeah. And they're together like the whole movie. Not really, but forcefully they are. I loved it. I didn't think I'd like them together like that. Like I didn't think of them as like a team. I never thought of that. Really, as like a realistic thing that would be good. But I loved it. I was like, this is fucking awesome. I want them to like hang out. You know what I mean? Like, I was like,
you want to see a sitcom with Rey and Kylo?
I do. But I just thought to myself, this is really interesting. Could love be what it's funny because, do you know what would be interesting? So love is what led Anakin to the dark side. It'd be interesting to see the opposite for Kylo. Like he falls in love with Rey and that kind of leads him out. That's interesting to me. New thing, new perspective. Because to me, what they're doing with Kylo is so this is their Darth Vader. But what they're like, but what would have happened if Darth Vader did this? Let's do that with Kylo. What would have happened if the Emperor died in Empire Strikes Back and Darth Vader was in charge of the Empire in the last movie? That to me is what they're doing. Now, this is what I would have rather them done. And this is my alternative scenario of what would happen. Because to me, they ruined Snoke by killing him for a couple reasons. One is that they'd never explained his backstory. So, and especially with the hype to Snoke of like who he was, and they were waiting to reveal him, and there's no real backstory. And it's like, it doesn't make sense that he exists. Like when you're the Emperor, you're like, we don't know what happened before, so you imagine he just rose up. But it's like, no, Snoke would have been rising up when the other movies were happening, so we would have heard about him, seen it. Like he doesn't just come out of nowhere. Who is he? Why was he there? How does he have an army? How does he have all this money and riches? How's he supreme leader? It makes no sense. There's no explanation. So there's all these things, and then he dies. But he's also built up to be so powerful. Like Rey tries to forcefully get the lightsaber back, and he just flicks it around, whacks her in the head. Kylo has no chance. He just, as soon as Kylo tries to do anything, Snoke just whacks him with lightning. He's just saying he's been manipulating them. He's the one connecting them with the Force. So, but then all of a sudden, Kylo is able to turn a saber on him, and he has no idea what's happening.
The reason for that, though, is like when I watched it the second time, I was like, okay, I guess it makes sense because he's like reading Kylo's intentions, and Kylo is sort of like doing what he's doing at the same time as he's like turning both lightsabers at the same time. Like he's turning his towards Rey at the same time he's turning Luke's towards Snoke. And
Anakin's, but
yeah, sorry, I know. And then Snoke, what Snoke is saying is what Kylo is like doing, but also he's actually doing it to Snoke as well.
Sure.
So
and
to me, it made more sense. Like, see, I don't dislike the way Kylo killed Snoke. I dislike that they did it, and Snoke then became pointless. Like, he's this super powerful guy that has no backstory at all, and they just kill him. Like, I didn't believe he was dead. I was like, he's just gonna come back to life, isn't he? Because he's that powerful. But no, he didn't. He's just dead. And like, it's so weird because I really like what they did with Kylo, and the whole moment where he kills him, and like what happens after that, and then the fact that we've now got Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. and I really like all of that. I just really hate that Snoke was sort of made out to be like this really powerful figure that just dies with no explanation of who he is, and he never really does anything. That's what bothers me more than the fact that he actually died.
Sure. Yeah, no, and I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, but when you think of another devil's advocate, another way to think about it, right, was Snoke. Why does Snoke all of a sudden trust Kylo? Like, he didn't actually do anything to earn back the trust other than bring Rey into a room. You know what I mean? He saw the conflict in him when he's talking to Rey. Like, how's he now like so sitting there confident that Kylo's gonna kill her? That doesn't really make sense.
I don't know.
But that's like the Emperor. So I get what you're saying. So I'm like, sure, that's an explanation. But again, like you said, it doesn't really help because there's no really explanation for who he is as a character. We just start to see him as really powerful. Like, I was sitting there like, oh shit, this dude's fucking powerful. I don't know how they're going to beat him. I was literally sitting there like, I don't know how any of them are going to beat him. And then that happened. I'm like, oh, okay.
He died from one lightsaber strike through the, like, I don't know where his body's fucked.
The abdomen, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, here's, I want to give you, first of all, don't get me wrong, when this was happening, I fucking loved it. When Kylo and Rey, when he pulls Anakin's lightsaber and Rey catches it and they stand up and start fighting those guards, I was fucking jumping out of my chair like, fucking get him, fucking go, dream team here, fucking dream. Like, I was all fucking for it. Don't get me wrong, I loved the scene. I loved it all. I don't like the decision to do it for Snoke, but I had so much fun and I love this. And it is a great scene. It's a great death scene. It makes sense, blah, 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 blah. But at the end, you've got to be able to justify why do you kill Snoke at all in the plot. Now, here's the scene I would have given you.
Okay. You
could keep every single storyline the same, pretty much, other than Luke's end. You've got to kind of figure that out. Maybe you'd have to use Snoke in a different sense. I don't know. But, so, you've got Kylo doing the same thing, right? So here's the scene. Kylo's switching the lightsabers around, like he's moving both. And then you see his backhand that you know he's using with Anakin's lightsaber, and he closes his hand like he's, opening it. And it doesn't open. And Snoke just laughs. And he's like, you really think I didn't know what you were doing? Like, he's using the Force to stop him from doing it. Now, he's like, now I'm going to kill you both. Now he starts using lightning on both of them. Holdo booms through the hyperspeed space through the ships. That disrupts everything that's happening. Yeah. So they're able to escape, or Rey's able to escape. She tries to get Kylo, but Kylo wants to kill Snoke. So Rey leaves, right? There's a way to do this, right? Where Rey gets away the same way.
Yeah, I get where you're going with it.
You don't have to kill Snoke. And I think you should have had Kylo just go good. You know what I mean? Like, I would have rather had seen, like, this is like I was saying. What would have happened if Darth Vader was the lead emperor in Episode 6 because he killed the Sidious in 5? What would have happened? Oh, let's do it. This is pretty much what they're doing here. What about this? What would have happened if Darth Vader went to the good side in Empire Strikes Back, and he was good all of Return of the Jedi? That's the question I would have rather had seen answered with Kylo in particular. I would have rather him been good. Like, what a dynamic of like him with his mother.
Yeah.
He's gone back. And then Finn and Poe, do they trust him? They don't trust him at all. They've seen what he's done, and it's Rey trying to convince him like he's on their side. And there's this connection between them and this team up with them against this ultra powerful. Like, it makes, and this is what I thought they were going with, right? Because Snoke's this ultra powerful guy. I honestly believe that one of them couldn't have beaten him on their own, but the two of them together. Now, this is the storyline I thought was happening as well. I grew up with the prequels. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love the original trilogy the most, but I did grow up with the prequels. So I take maybe their storylines a bit more seriously than some other Star Wars fans. So when it comes to the Anakin as the chosen one, I took that seriously. That's, to me, that's canon. The prequels are canon, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought the Force connection between Rey and Kylo was the fact that they're both the chosen ones, but together, like a yin and a yang.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same.
So I loved that. I'm like, the Force is, because Kylo's like, why is the Force bringing us together? I'm like, I love that it's the Force. it's not about Snoke bringing them together. It's about the Forces bringing them together because they need each other. They're the chosen ones that are together going to bring balance. The light and the dark together balancing each other out. And they're the ones that have to take on Snoke. And I loved, like, literally when Kylo kills Snoke and they're standing there and he goes, let them die. Let the rebels die. Let the Sith die. Let the Jedi die. Let it all die. Let old things, I'll let old things die.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. I'm like, fucking take his hand, Rey. And then as soon as he goes, and we'll rule the galaxy, I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, it's interesting because I loved the scene as well because that mirrored Anakin with Padme in Revenge of the Sith. It was exactly like that scene. And she's just like, please don't do this. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I love how Anakin he is, but like real, like what Anakin should have been.
Yeah. Yeah, it really makes sense. Like, I think that something Kylo does as well, that I think is interesting, is he's not as much like Vader in the sense that I feel like he aspires to be Vader, but that's not what he truly is. Like to me, like the way he says like I want to rule the galaxy and he wants all this power, I feel like part of him does want that, but I feel like more of him is more to serve the dark side of the Force. Like I feel like that is sort of his thing, is like he's sort of really, because like the way he says like to let everything die is sort of like the will of the Force in a way. And to have them both be each other's opposites, Kylo being dark and Rey being light, makes sense that Kylo would be sort of just doing sort of what the Force wants. And I mean, there's a lot of talk about that in the movie. Like one of the scenes, Snoke says when he's saying darkness rises and light to meet it, and says, I told Kylo when his power grew, his opposite in the light would as well. And he says, I thought that was Skywalker, but I must have been wrong, talking about Rey. And they do that a lot. Like even in on Luke's island, there's that thing on the ground that has one side's black and one side's white. Like I just feel like there's so much sort of.
It's all about balance. This movie is all about heroes. What is a hero, and about balance. What is good and evil, and the balance.
I think they're going to do more with Kylo and Rey in the next movie. I feel they will end up being the balance together in one way or another.
Well, JJ said I'm really happy JJ's directing this last movie. To be honest, I'm very happy with that. Because one, like being the Force Awakens director, there's things that I didn't like because Ryan doesn't answer too much, like in this movie. Like like I told you, I was asking whether there's even another movie after this. Like, there's gonna be a big time jump. This movie just kind of wrapped everything up, and then it's like, but it set up just another story, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Whereas there should have still been more questions. I still have questions.
Like,
who's Snoke? But doesn't matter. Fucking dead.
Maybe it does matter though.
Nah, doesn't matter. Fucking dead. You know what I mean? Like all these things just didn't matter. And I'm like, but what? It's like Darth Maul. It's like Darth Maul all over again.
He became a spider, man.
Please look. I got a question for you, and this is possible, and there is a way to.
Snoke becomes a spider.
Okay, no. Look, I got a question for you.
Yes.
This is a possibility. Now, I know people who. Now, I also, we haven't addressed this. I loved that Rey's parents were nobody because there's so much build up and theories. I'm like, honestly, I was at the point where I'm like, I don't think I'd be happy with any of these theories. Honestly, if he was she's Luke's daughter, she's Han's daughter, like I'd hate that. If she was Obi-Wan's relative, I'd hate it. She was Palpatine's, like I'd hate all of that. It doesn't make sense. It makes more sense that she's important, not her parents, not her bloodline, but she is important. She was a chosen one. I would like it more if it's like, in terms of this chosen one thing, like she was chosen by the Force. That's why the Force brought her there. It was just a random girl. It wasn't about like a bloodline, but in some way the Force birthed her into the world to do this. And to meet, light to meet it. She was the light. Darkness rose and the Force built a light to meet it. Yeah, it didn't have to be from just with someone. Like the bloodline's still there, but the bloodline's the dark side, is the Skywalker bloodline now. Luke's gone. So it's just Kylo. And obviously Leia's gone as well in the next movie. Though they didn't kill her off, which I didn't really expect them to. Like, I'm like, if they don't kill her in this, she's not gonna, they're just gonna have to kind of. I just feel like there'd be a time gap, and she would have died
in between. That's what I thought as well. And they'll just bring it up in passing. They'll just talk about it.
I feel like
Showed
it'll be
or something.
important. It'll be an important thing. Like it'll be a scene. Like it'll be a solid, like important scene for it. But
Oh
yeah.
yeah, hopefully that'll be better.
Um, I always thought maybe like the first scene could be like a funeral,
Hmm.
and it'll be kind of a bit, yeah, I don't know. Like it just, yeah,
And then the First Order attacks the funeral.
and it's on Naboo.
They got it. They got to have some action in there, and Poe's got to jump in an X-wing and
It
fly
can't be on
around.
Alderaan. It can't be on Alderaan.
Oh
too soon.
no! Yeah, well, I mean, her homeworld would have been Naboo if she knew where she came from, I guess.
Another spoon buried.
Yeah, true.
Um, so okay. Well, I was saying something.
I don't know. Oh, the
About
Skywalker bloodline you were talking about, and then
oh yeah, the chosen one stuff. Yeah, so I liked
yeah,
it. Yeah, parents were not, but I was fine. I was fine with it. Like it
yeah,
wasn't
I
like,
liked
oh,
it.
that's cool. But I was like, yep, I can live with that. That's fine. No stress. No big deal. Probably better than any of the other options, to be honest.
Hmm.
I would have just liked them to address this chosen one thing, like it to be a thing.
Well, I mean, they've still
You
got
know?
another movie, so
Well, this is okay. So this is the thing. So with this other movie, like people are upset, like, but they didn't do this, they didn't do that. I'm like, honestly, if the Last Jedi, if Episode 9 doesn't really help fix any of the issues or kind of give reasons for certain things in the Last Jedi, then maybe the Last Jedi isn't that great. But
sure.
the movie isn't even out yet. I feel like the Last Jedi made the Force Awakens better because it wasn't an Empire copy, so therefore Force Awakens was what it needed to be, and then moves forward. So you know what I mean. So the next movie, what's a big theory about Snoke though, of how he came to be? Why don't you tell me? You tell me what a big theory about Snoke is, the most major one of at least how he came to be.
The most major theory of Snoke. I mean, there's fucking loads, isn't there? But I think a major one that people have been talking about was that he was something in sort of like, I don't know, like just an entity of like the dark side in like the far reaches of space, and Order 66 is what brought him sort of into being, because like how Yoda has that reaction to Order 66 happening, and sort of that sort of awoke Snoke, and then he spent a bunch of time planning and like watching what was happening, because he says in The Force Awakens like he witnessed the rise and fall of the Empire, so he was around during the Clone Wars and whatever. So I don't know, but I mean,
People also suggest it's Darth Plagueis the Wise.
yeah, that was
That was the thing. Now here's a question here, and this may be me stretching, but this is, if I was J.J. Abrams, this is what I would do. Especially because Snoke's the one that said he connected them, but then they connect again after. So is it that they're chosen ones? That's one option. I think that's a good option to go with. It was never Snoke. But then Snoke said it. I don't think he's lying. You know what I mean? He obviously knew they were connecting.
He knew they were connecting for sure, but
yes.
I don't
So
think he had
now
anything to do with it.
now here's. I mean, I think he did. I just think it's poor writing that they did it again, if I'm being real. But here's how I explain it as J.J. Abrams, right? Darth Plagueis the Wise was murdered by Palpatine, by Sidious, his apprentice. He was killed. Now, all of a sudden, you've got this other figure, destroyed, tormented, mutated from something. I would argue. What power did Darth Plagueis the Wise have that Palpatine talked about in Revenge of the Sith?
Well, he could save others from dying.
Okay, sure.
Not
He could
himself.
cheat death. Well, they didn't say he couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
He did.
As far as Palpatine's
Palpatine said
aware,
that.
as far as you're right. Palpatine did say that, but as far as Palpatine knew, that was the case. The ironic thing is he couldn't save himself. Now, what if he could? And what if he could again?
That is interesting.
What if he has the power? Like, there's a way to kill him, but not just physically, cutting him in half. You know what I mean? Not just physically killing him. Like, there's a way in the Force that you will kill him. Like, the balance has to be a balance to kill him. Like, he has these powers, right? Like, he
Yeah.
could cheat. Like, what is that? Like, obviously we know that Luke Mark Hamill's going to be in the next movie, right? Just because he died, we know he's one with the Force now. It's Force.
Sure.
Now, what happens to these dark entities? Is there a way for them to find themselves through the Force and bring themselves back to a physical form?
Maybe if they're like super powerful, but I think it's
He
like,
looks pretty fucking powerful to me.
I mean, he does for sure. It's just one of them things like it's a cool idea, but then what like if you have a character like if Snoke ends up being Plagueis who can bring himself back or something like that, then that sort of makes Plagueis the most important Star Wars character in a way, like being like the most important villain, being like this is a hugely powerful character that's just.
But you got to understand this, and they've kind of said this.
The
Disney
original
is
Star
kind
Wars
of
movies happen.
But this is but I think that. But okay, this is the thing here though. They're saying this is the end of the Skywalker saga, right? Like Episode 9. They're wrapping up. This is a 9-movie saga. This isn't 3 different trilogies. This isn't wrapping up this trilogy. This has to make them all.
That's
this
true.
next movie has to make them all. That includes the prequels because they're canon. That includes the original trilogy, and that includes this trilogy. Now, in my opinion, as much as I love The Last Jedi, I do love it. It's not good enough to wrap up the 9 movies. It didn't do enough for me for the night in terms of it being the second last, like what it's done. Like I'm like, you haven't set up the final movie well that's supposed to end the saga. They did. That's what I'm saying. The biggest problem I have is they answered too much, and there's not a good enough. Because to me, it's like, okay, so Kylo's there, Rey's there, they'll fight in the last movie. Rey will win. You know what I mean? Like that's it. That's the 9 movies. That's how it ends.
I hope not. I really
like
hope
there's
not.
nothing unpredictable I see happening now.
Who
They
knows?
kind of gave it all away.
Well,
they
it's
gave it all-
unpredictable, so you can't predict it.
They gave it all away in this movie, which there's lots of unpredictable. I didn't predict Snoke would die. I didn't predict Kylo and Rey would team up. This movie had a lot of unpredictable moments, but it like kind of took them from the next movie as
Maybe
well.
they'll do more though. Like I really
I
do
hope
hope
so.
the next
I hope
movie
so.
does do a lot of things we're not expecting. I don't want to just Rey fights Kylo and wins, and the rebels win, and now we can build the Republic again. And I don't want that.
I can't deal with that again. No, that'll be horrible. This is the end of the Skywalker saga.
That'd ruin it for me.
Kylo kind of has to die because it's the end of the Skywalkers. You know what I mean? He's the
think?
last.
But like, what about the balance? You need the balance. If he dies, then the light is too there's too much light. What if they
So
both
both die.
die? They could both
Yeah.
die.
You both die.
Become Force ghosts and be like, oh look, balance and stuff. And
Well, she's the last Jedi and he's the last Sith.
maybe I don't know what they do. It's interesting, but I mean, did they not say that Episode 9 would the story would connect a lot to the prequels? Did they not say that?
JJ said his story will connect everything and wrap up everything.
It is good
from
that
the
he's writing
prequels
Episode 9.
I'm very happy he's writing it. People were like, JJ again, or should we just get Return of the Jedi?
I said
Fuck
that,
you.
yeah.
JJ is going to be fucking awesome. He's going to be awesome.
Definitely a good choice.
Especially because he's the one that wrote Force Awakens. He did a great job, and he knows what he wants he started it. He knows what he wants to do to finish it. And honestly, you can fix that. Like you said about the Force, man, you can do crazy shit. You can fix the shit you don't like about The Last Jedi if you want to. I'm just worried that The Last Jedi kind of pointed out that there's no real big plan.
Yeah, it's one of them.
JJ's just writing now.
Not with The Last Jedi, it took place over the course of 3 days. So I mean, nothing really happens. I mean, a lot happens, but I don't know. I think that it was the whole everything with Rey and Kylo and Luke and everything was great, but I feel like having that stuff with the Resistance and stuff made the whole movie feel like it was super stationary. Nothing actually happened. The whole thing was just one battle between 2 sort of fleets. That was the movie. Whereas with The Force Awakens, it was characters going from place to place to complete this mission that they had that took them a while, sort of thing. Whereas this, it was we need to flee Dakar because the First Order's here and we need to get away. But that was the whole movie. Was they were trying to flee from the First Order. And it's
I agree.
Why was that a whole movie? That could have been the first scene. They flee from the First Order, and it's okay, so now what do we do? We've got to set up a base here. We need to try and contact, people in the Outer Rim and stuff.
But that's also part of my questioning to Rian Johnson writing the script. I asked the question, why was that the best you could come up with?
Yeah.
I just don't understand with the talent I know he has, how that was the best. Because it's not that it was bad, but there was, that's not the best option you had.
Yeah, definitely not. I said this
You know
before,
what I mean?
and the whole the movie, the stuff that's not with Rey and Kylo and everything, feels like a really long episode of Star Wars Rebels. Like that's what it felt like a really good long episode of Star Wars Rebels. But it didn't. There was no. It was just. It was a lot of dicking about because in the end it was pointless anyway. They didn't even like destroy or whatever the thing inside the Star Destroyer. They just got captured, and then fought some stormtroopers and then got away.
That casino, the fucking like riding horse lemurs and fucking
That was all
casino scene.
bollocks.
That was, yeah, pointless. Cut that
It
whole
was
thing. You could have
so
cut that whole
much
fucking
shit.
that whole storyline was pointless.
Yeah,
It was just to give Finn something to do,
I know,
and Ryan Johnson is like, oh, they seem like they're setting up Rey and Finn. I don't like that. We've got to keep. We've got to keep the good-looking white people together. So Kylo, you get together, and we'll take two minorities and put them together.
oh god, yeah, I feel like Finn was not into her. She was just like getting she was reading it all wrong. She was like, "Oh, I love you, Finn," and he's like, "Oh,
Well,
I
Finn's
guess."
obviously still in love with Rey, and
He's
I think
like,
Rey
"But Rey."
has a thing for
Everyone
Finn. But
she meets, yeah.
yeah, so it seems like it, doesn't it?
She meets Poe at the end, and she's like, "Oh, hey, Poe. Kind of like you now too after seeing you for the first time."
Well, I mean, Poe's a handsome guy, so you know what I mean. I wouldn't be mad at.
He is.
I would have done the same thing.
But yeah, I mean the stuff on Canto Bight. I mean, I guess that was just to set up like those kids and stuff. So it's like, oh look, now there's hope because look, these kids you knew, and this one can force a broomstick.
Yeah, but like you could have done it. But I know, but like you said, the only reason they had to do it that way was because the rest of the rebels were fucking stationary. Well, what if they weren't? You know what I mean? Like, there's just so much more you could have done with this shit.
It was really, that whole thing was really strange. And I mean, I hate that fucking character, that fucking dude who like betrayed them on the Star Destroyer.
Benicio del Toro's character, I thought he was good.
A shit character.
He was
so useless. I hated him. He was so stupid.
I liked him better than Rose.
Really?
Yeah, Rose was okay, but she wasn't that great.
Rose was fun, but like,
I liked Benicio del Toro's character. Like, I thought he was he said interesting things. Like, he had interesting lines of dialogue talking about the good and like showing them the good and bad. And like, he's like, well, these traders are still selling to your buddies as well, like selling the X-wings and weapons and shit like that.
Guess,
and I'm
but
like,
what is that meant to make us think? Because they're still going to portray the Resistance or the Rebels as the good guys. Like,
it's a commentary on current modern day politics, mate.
I don't care though.
Yeah, neither do I. I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I liked his character. I thought Benicio did a good job, but like, yeah, he didn't need to be there either.
I mean, sure, it was fine. I just mean in terms of like Star Wars characters, he was super like forgettable. Like I mean, it was just weird though because he was advertised in like all this promotional art, and it's like, well, he was in it the movie for like I don't know, 20 minutes. I don't know. He was barely in the movie, and then he betrayed him and was like, oh, okay, now I'm gone, and he probably won't ever fucking show up again.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe he will.
What was Maz Kanata's point of her being in that? That was fucking stupid.
It was like, look, here's that character you know. She's
in
funny.
A hologram. But like what? But like what's she doing?
What was she doing?
We'll find out in a comic book.
No, we'll find out in the next movie. It'll be episode 9 will be an anthology movie all about her.
Oh god! If they do an anthology movie about her and they have that scene, they're like, "Look, this was from the." Oh fuck off!
Oh, this is from the Last Jedi. Whoa!
That was stupid. Why would you even have her in? That was stupid.
Yeah, that was unnecessary. Like
I feel like you could have had Poe talk about this. Like he's a well-traveled, Republic guy. Like he's been around. He knows he's gone underground a bit. He's had to do shit. He's had to do. He's fine. You could have used him and explained that. But you had to have Maz Kanata on a fucking hologram.
I mean, I think that you could have had her do the job, like, or say she'd help them or whatever, like, right, or just not have her at all. Like, there was no reason for them to contact her, and then have her go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm shooting stuff, I guess. Go find this guy that you don't even speak to ever, who's just like in the casino." That was all really fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
That whole section was really weird.
Yep, I agree. And just to, animals matter. Animals' lives matter.
I like those animals, though.
No, I don't. Stupid.
I like them. They're big dog horse things with Yoda ears. So, I like them.
It was just a long-eared horse fox. It's
Look,
your fucking animal, your spirit animal.
exactly. I love
No,
him.
it was real shit though. That was super shit and pointless.
It was.
Um,
I mean, it was all shit, but like, in terms of an animal in Star Wars, it's a cool animal.
but CG, like I didn't like that CGI part. Like there's a lot of CGI in that section. I didn't like all that.
Oh,
Um,
you're a retro old school fan. Don't like none
I
of
just
that
think it just
CGI
looks better.
nonsense.
It just looks better. It real looks better. Practical effects look better.
They did have practical. Some of those were practical effects. Those.
Some of them were, but not all of them were. There's plenty of CGI.
I mean,
Even
yeah,
that
but
fucking little thing putting the coins in BB-8 was CGI.
so
Why?
well, because it looks
Like it wasn't even
fine.
good. No, it doesn't. Fuck
does,
off. Like
it's fine.
it looks cheap. It looks cheap.
But no, Jar Jar looks cheap.
Well, okay, I'm not comparing this movie to the prequels, man. Let's not get too
But yeah,
ridiculous.
but like
with
when you
this.
talk about cheap CGI, like the prequels did CGI wrong. I don't think the new ones have done anything bad with CGI. I think
Okay.
it's fine. I'm fine with CGI.
Okay. I thought. I mean, there's like I said, man. When at the top of this podcast, I said this movie has plenty wrong with it.
Mhm.
And when I say plenty wrong with it, I mean there's like the main three was like, fuck, I've already forgotten her name. Vice Admiral
Holdo.
Holdo. I was about to say Hodor. Holdo. Like she was fine, and I like how her ending, like, is one of the best scenes. The whole movie was her doing the slip space. It's like Halo slip space. It's I don't even know what the fuck it's called.
Hyperspace.
Hyperspace. That was one of the best scenes, visually stunning. One of the best scenes in Star Wars. It was amazing. But her build up to that just kind of was a bit. It's not that it was bad. It just could have been done better. Like to me, it was like there's nothing other than Snoke and the weird Leia scene. There's nothing that was bad. It was just everything could have been done better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Luke, who just stole the movie. Everything he did was all I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing it a second time, his death was even more justified to me. It made more sense. I was okay with it. I had fun with it. Loved it. Kylo, Rey, other than the Snoke dying at all bit, I loved their whole storyline. I loved their connections together. I loved their dynamic. They both acted really well. Adam Driver kills it as Kylo Ren. Kills it. He's so good as
He
an
is
actor.
good, yeah.
And yeah, from start to finish, those two killed in this movie. I loved them both. They're my two favorite characters in Star Wars, other than Luke and Darth Vader. And so that the hyperspace, Luke in general, Rey and Kylo's team up was amazing. The Luke and Kylo face off was amazing. And then my other big, if talking about like 5 best moments of the movie, the other one was Yoda showing up, jumped the fuck out of my seat. They used puppet Yoda,
So
and he
good.
didn't act like the stupid prequel Yoda that uses fucking lightsaber and jumps off walls. Fucking stupid and totally against his whole character of, using the Force and not needing violence to solve your problems. So the love that they use this crazy old wise, Jedi Yoda with the practical puppet Yoda, and it's
perfect.
it's exactly like original trilogy Yoda. And he's just sitting there, sets the thing on fire, and then he starts laughing crazily. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, Yoda.
Yeah, it's like I said this, a couple of years ago, we never would have thought we'd get another Star Wars movie. And the other day, we watched The Last Jedi, and we saw Luke Skywalker talking to Yoda, and it was fucking amazing. Like, that's crazy.
I love things like this as well. And this is what sure there's problems with it. It's not a perfect movie. But it's an awesome movie. It's fun. It's fucking fun. Like, can we not enjoy it? Like, I know sometimes we take things too seriously, but it's not that bad. It's definitely not bad.
It's not bad
that
at
you
all,
can't
man.
that you can't enjoy it. You know what I mean? I cannot understand why someone can't enjoy this movie. Really. You know what I mean? It's not like an Assassin's Creed movie where it's just there's not a single redeeming quality about it. It's just a horrendous, terrible, god-awful abomination of a movie from start to finish.
It's not like the prequels either. Like the prequels, I mean, even the prequels, I can enjoy the prequels as much as they're bad. Like
I enjoy Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith, I think, is a really good movie. I think
it's a good movie. I wouldn't put the I wouldn't put the
really
really in front of it, but I
really
think
like
it's
it.
good. I think it's a good movie.
I think with Revenge of the Sith, overall, it's a really good movie. There's a lot of clunky moments, but
I mean, it's
that's
fun.
George Lucas
it's a fun.
dialogue.
it's a fun as fuck movie.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I can
And
enjoy the other
it's
two.
the only plot line of any of the prequel movies that has any relevance to the original trilogy. Like all the questions you have about Darth Vader from the original trilogy, like how did it happen? All those questions are only answered in Revenge of the Sith, and none of them are answered in the first two movies. They're literally pointless to the, you know what I mean?
I mean, not entirely, but they didn't
never,
need to be whole movies. Like, there's certain scenes in like the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones that I guess are relevant, but
I'll never show my kids those movies. No, I'm being serious. Like
you
I know.
to.
I know.
It's
I've
Star
already got
Wars.
No. I'll show my. This is the order I show my kids Star Wars.
Okay.
Rogue One's the first one we watch.
Mm-hmm.
Then we watch Star Wars. Sorry, A New Hope.
Yeah.
Then we watch Empire.
Mm-hmm.
They get to have the reveal that Darth Vader's Luke's father.
Mm-hmm.
They have that moment, and then we watch Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Because they need to understand that Darth Vader's not this pure evil guy. He has good in him. You see the conflict within him. You see it, and how he becomes Darth Vader. It explains all the questions you'll have in that one movie. Mm-hmm. Because of you don't really get the friendship between Obi-Wan and Anakin in Attack of the Clones. It was fucking stupid, weird, didn't really make much sense.
Well, they're never together in that movie.
Exactly, and they just talk shit about each other.
Yeah, they do. They're just backstabbing each other. It's
all the time. And then you get to Revenge of the Sith, and the first scene is them helping each other, and Anakin go and
I love that.
Like, you're gonna leave him, and Anakin goes, his fate will be the same as ours. You don't. Attack of the Clones sucks and is thrown out after that first scene of the movie. Like Revenge of the Sith solves all the problems. You don't need the other movies, so you get the Empire Strikes Back. You go back, you get a quick recap. Revenge of the Sith. So you're invested in how you've just watched 4 movies that kind of encapsulate this era, the rise of the Empire and Luke Skywalker and his crew. How does that end? And you go watch Return of the Jedi, then you can watch the new trilogy. That's the order I show. That's the order I show them. You don't need Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace. You don't need them. They're not relevant.
The issue I have though is that like you don't if you just watch Revenge of the Sith, you don't really know who these characters are. Like they're sort of displayed to you as if you've watched the first two.
They're not though. That you get to know them.
I guess.
The Jedi's, they talk about how they've, they literally talk about in all the scenes of like establishing their friendship and why they're friends and like, oh, I trained you, Anakin, blah, blah, blah. Like you get it. You don't need to see it. You're told it, and you believe it based on their actions in that movie. Anakin meets, when he sees Padme for the first time, it's a secret quiet meeting where she says she's pregnant and sure it's wonderful. And you're kind of like, why isn't that an issue? And they kind of slowly explain the fact that, oh yeah, okay, so you can't be married if you're a Jedi, I guess. You know what I mean? Like everything's explained again. Nothing's not explained in Last Jedi.
What about like the Chosen One and like Anakin being conceived by the Force and stuff?
You don't really need the conceived by the Force bit or anything. You don't really need it. You don't. Though. You don't though.
I feel like you do because it kind of points out his importance. Like the Force conceived Anakin because the Force needed him.
All you kind of need, right, is they bring up a prophecy of the Chosen One. They talk about it in Revenge of the Sith. They have a scene with Yoda, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan, and they talk about is he not the Chosen One? So the prophecy says blah 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 blah, and they explain the prophecy. They don't say he's conceived by the Force, no. But that's what you want me to show my kids Phantom Menace so they know he's conceived by the Force. I'll just tell them that.
They'd enjoy it though. They'd enjoy the Phantom Menace. It's hilarious. There's so many funny CGI monsters. It's great.
My hypothetical children are not watching Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, so fuck off.
I do agree. If I did see my kids laughing at anything in the Phantom Menace, I might throw them out the window.
I'd have bought them at older age. It's called Murder, Tyler. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, that's abortion anyway. So, yeah, no big deal. Ooh.
Oh, we just got political on the Kill Connor Clubhouse. Don't dislike. It's all right. It's all right.
Anyway, back to The Last Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
But I talked, like I said, I thought it was fun. There's those 5 scenes are some of the best scenes all Star Wars. I loved it. Fucking amazing moments. Mm-hmm. Luke, Rey, Kylo kind of just stole the movie, and it kind of fucked the rest of the other storylines up. Post stuff and the Rebel stuff, average. It was fine. You did it right. It could have been better. Finn's and Rose's had good moments. It was okay. I like the end, but ultimately, like it's so many ups and downs through the movie, and then the last half hour is just epic from start to finish, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that I feel like in the years to come, this movie is going to be remembered really well. But I think now people are, because I mean
it's not going to be until the next movie's out and we see what happens. To be honest, though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like when you've got to compare this in a way to Empire, and the way that also had the dynamic of the characters being split up, but I think it was done in a much better way because everything that happened with like Han, Chewie, and Leia was just as interesting as what was happening with Luke and Yoda.
Well, to be fair, Luke and Yoda was kind of boring at some part.
Yeah, even
it's like, actually
it's like kind of
Luke
the
and
other
Ray
way.
Is way better. Yeah, Luke and Ray is way
better.
What he's just trying to teach him how to lift shit. Like in this, it's like philosophical and
balance
like backstories and shit. Yeah,
but he does that. There's that cool scene where he tries to lift the X-wing and then Yoda does it. And that music plays in The Last Jedi when Yoda lifts the X-wing out of the water in Empire. That music plays when Yoda shows up in The Last Jedi as well. And I was like, that's cool.
He just has some great lines, and I love that it was like he was cut off from the Force, and that as soon as he uncut him, then Yoda appeared again.
Yeah,
it was really cool. I got a question for you. So this is while I was watching it, I was totally expecting Obi-Wan and Anakin to show up as ghosts on that island as well, and then Yoda showed up, and I was like, cool. I'll tell you when I thought Anakin was going to show up. Yeah, when there's this dark side area that Rey goes to, for some reason there's some random dark cave. Super stupid.
Because it's the first Jedi temple, so it's kind of like where on Dagobah, Yoda had the dark side sight as well.
Whatever. Anyway,
so like there needs to be the balance. It makes sense.
So Rey goes in there, and she goes, who are my parents? And this thing comes out, and I expected. Not to show that Anakin was a parent or anything, but like Anakin would show up and surprise her, and she'd be like, "Who are you?" And then there'd be a dialogue there. Like I was like, "That's a perfect moment," in this dark area of this temples where Anakin's kind of like not forced to be, but kind of put himself as like a punishment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I don't know, but like there was just moments I was like expecting things like that, and they didn't happen. I was sad,
really
but
hoped for that. Yeah, it's like when I saw Yoda, I was like, yeah, this is great. But I was like, okay, now where are the other two? They're gonna show up, right?
Obi-Wan?
And they didn't.
Anakin?
And it was like, come on, you could have done that. But I guess like it's like I got
Yoda's
Yoda.
Good enough. At least
like,
you got one. Yeah.
We got Yoda, and I guess that was
him
the
and
safest
Luke together was
one.
better.
Yeah, true. It was good to see them together, and I think it was the safest one they could have done because if they go with Anakin, it's like a lot of people don't like Hayden Christensen. They'll be mad at that. They kind of
do now. You know what I mean? He's done 2017 has been a great year for that man. Him showing up at Star Wars Celebration, everyone's all of a sudden super nice about him. Or all of a sudden, everyone goes, and I've been saying this whole time. Everyone goes, "Oh no, it's George Lucas's writing that did it, not Hayden. He's a nice guy. He's actually a really good actor."
I really like him. I really like him. I don't want to be mean to him.
Yeah,
he's such a nice guy. He was just a guy, and he was told to be in Star Wars, and he was like, "Yeah, of course I want to be in Star Wars," and everyone hates him for it.
And then he's afraid to go outside, and you can see his fear.
When he walks on the stage, he's like, "Please, I'm just a guy." But yeah, I expected him to show up, but I think safest bet because a lot of people might not like Hayden, and I think when you go with Obi-Wan, it's like, are they gonna be able to accurately like get Alec Guinness to sort of like be there with like if they do CGI or like do they do CGI?
No, you just get Ewan McGregor. I know, just go like, Whitehead, Ewan McGregor. But then people he's now Obi-Wan. He's now Obi-Wan. You know what I mean?
He is, but people will be like, "Oh no, what have you done?" So I think Yoda's the safest one because people can't complain. So I kind of get why they did it.
And I thought it was the better one anyway. Like in terms of like when you think about it, it's the best option. Also, the dynamic between them was great. Yoda laughing at him and Luke being old. It's cool to see what Yoda's interaction because you see what they're like when Luke's younger. It's cool to see the interaction now when they're old, when he's older.
It's very similar as well
because it's not like a young Luke is brash, blah blah blah. And it's like he's done a lot and now he's with Yoda. You know what I mean? He's proven himself. He's done all he's got to do. He's a legend. But Yoda's still talking to him like he's, "Oh, I've missed you, Skywalker."
Yeah.
Young Skywalker. I was like, oh, fucking funny. And then he's teaching him stuff and talking about like what masters do and the failures and things. Like he had great, awesome Yoda messages.
Yoda's so great. Another thing actually that came out of that whole scene is that the books weren't even in the tree. Rey stole the books. They're on the Falcon.
All of them?
They're in that drawer on the Falcon.
I never saw that.
I noticed it the second time I watched it. I was like, oh. So they weren't even on the island. Did Yoda know that? Or do you think he thought they were in the tree as well?
No, I think Yoda. That's why Yoda was very quick to, light it on fire. You know what I mean?
Mm.
He kind of just wanted to fuck with Luke and teach him a lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Classic
he's like
Yoda.
that the girl, and he's like the girl Ray already has everything she needs.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, she does. She has the books.
She
You know?
stole them.
And Yoda knows. Yoda knows what's up. It's Yoda.
Yeah, true.
You know, and Luke just sitting down with Yoda, and then you've got the scene, like the final shot in that scene,
Mm-hmm.
and in the distance, and you just see like a Luke sitting down. There's a fire going in front of him. You just got Yoda's in the background. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's an amazing moment, right? That's history.
Oh,
That is history.
so great. That was really great.
There's so many desktop background shots. The face off between Kylo
Yeah.
and
Oh,
Luke was in.
God.
I'm like, if you told me, and you're like, if you show me that picture 5 years ago, and you're like this, so in the new trilogy, you've got the only dark side user is Luke's nephew, and Luke trained him. He went to the dark side, and they're facing off right now. I'm like, that's some fan fiction shit right
Yeah,
there,
I know.
you know.
That's what I felt like. That's the thing. A lot of what this movie is, because it feels very different to Star Wars, but like still the
Fuck
same.
yeah.
It felt very fan fiction in a way, but like not in a bad way. Not in a like, oh, this is really shit. In a way that it's like I don't know how you can be a Star Wars fan and not love it. Like I just don't get it. How you can come out of
I've
there and be
listened
like,
to some
I'm
people, and
disappointed.
I kind of get it. I get.
What?
I
Give me some examples.
Well, I mean, I've talked about everything people have said. I'm okay with the hologram. I'm okay with Force connection. I'm okay with, like, I don't like the Snoke died, but I kind of like how it all happened. The scene, I can deal with Holdor's Holdos.
You'll get there one day.
I get that one day. Holdos. I kept wanting to say Hodor, and then I'm like, it's not. No, it's an L, so it's Holdor. No, it's Holdo.
Yeah,
You
it is.
fuck. It's not hold the door. You fuck. So, like, I'm okay with, like, I was okay. Some of them I'm not okay with. Like the Finn and Rose stuff was boring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that whole casino scene, that was boring. I get it. I can watch it and it's fun. You know, once you know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, the first time you watch it, it's not fun. It's not good. And the storyline's weird with Holdo, and you know, I get it. Like, I get it.
I feel like that's just nitpicking though. Like there's
I
no
disagree.
solid
I
reason to
disagree.
be disappointed with the movie. To me, I feel like things are just like, okay, well that's like the
But if
tiniest
you
thing. How
hate
can you
how
hate the whole movie?
But if you hate how the Force is being used,
But it makes sense.
It
They
kind of-
fucking
all
show
these-
it at the beginning to be like, look, this
all
is a
these-
thing you can do.
I agree. I'm fine with it, man. You don't have to convince me. I agree. I love it. But I'm just saying, if someone's in there like I had someone
But that's
say,
just stupid.
the fact that Luke was a hologram, it was such a cool moment. They thought it was awesome, but it ruined it. That
What
they
does that
found out it was just a
mean?
hologram.
Why
They
did
just
that
thought it was
ruin
stupid.
it?
They thought it was stupid.
What?
And I'm like,
hold,
okay.
hold on,
I don't know.
hold
I
on.
don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, man.
So
I don't know.
so they think the hologram thing's stupid, but they think it's perfectly fine for if it was Luke actually there to be fired at by like 10 fucking walkers and survive. They think that's fine though.
No, they thought it was weird. They were like, "What's going on?" And then they're like, "Oh, he's got Anakin." Look, because of course he's got Anakin's lightsaber. I'm like, "Well, something's up here." I didn't notice that till the second
didn't
time. I'm like, "Oh,
notice
that's
that either, yeah.
Anakin's lightsaber."
And he doesn't have like footprints either in the salt.
I didn't pay attention to that for sure. I definitely didn't pay attention to that the first time.
I checked, yeah, the second time I like made sure to look, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because they show Kylo's feet slide across the salt, and then they show the same
do.
with Luke, but there's no mark.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm okay with it. I was fine with it. I thought it was explained well, especially the second time around. Like I said, the first
Yeah,
one was like
I think it was
weirded out,
fine.
but then Kylo's line set it up. It's like, hey, you can't be doing this; it would destroy you.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. Look, some people just don't like the same shit we do, so it is what it is.
I mean,
I'm like, okay,
you
I
have
guess.
you have to liken it to, in a way, the original trilogy, in the sense that they always introduce new Force shit. Like there was no lifting stuff with the Force
Well, you've
in
got
the
to try
first
new
movie.
shit. You can't stick around with the same shit.
Then in
You
Return of
can't.
the Jedi, they showed, oh, also there's Force lightning as well.
See, and okay, so this is the thing, man. I think that if you want to like this movie, you can very easily love this movie. If you have certain problems and you want to hate this movie, you can find plenty in this to hate, and you will hate this movie. You know what I mean? I think people that hate this movie had things they didn't like, they've exaggerated it, and they now want to hate the movie, and they hate the movie. There's things that are real issues with this movie, but I really want to like the movie, So, and I've justified it, and there are justifiable ways. I will sit here and argue with you that they could have done it way better in all these different areas, as I've said through the podcast. But ultimately, I'm okay with it. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I had some awesome moments. Some of my favorite moments of ever being watching a movie and sitting in cinemas was watching this movie. No doubt about it. I loved it. I thought it was better the second time around, and I will continue to watch it in the future. At cinemas, I'm going to go again next week.
Yeah,
I'll probably see it a couple more times at cinemas, and I'll watch it for years and years to come. So, you know,
I think a lot of people that like this movie are probably people that liked The Force Awakens as well. I feel like if you didn't like The Force Awakens, you might not like this. I don't know.
I feel like it might be the kind of the opposite. Like, because I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like it's the opposite complaints. You know what I mean?
Oh, people are annoying though. They're like, "Oh, The Force Awakens is too similar to A New Hope. Oh, The Last Jedi is too different from Star
Everything.
Wars." It's like,
Right, okay.
just do this really weird, specific middle thing that I want. I think it was what they needed to do. It was a new story. Like it wasn't the Star Wars.
They could have come up with better creative ideas
They
for
could
the
have.
Rebels.
Yeah.
For the Rebels, for sure. I was totally fine with Kylo's, totally fine with Rey's, totally fine with Luke's. Totally fine. The Snoke shit, stupid. Unless he has the ability to bring himself back from the dead. And that's why he exists in the first place. And by doing so in the next movie, it actually explains his whole backstory. Because that's how he came to be. That's because that's how he came to be at all. So
it would make sense to wrap up everything from the prequels and the original trilogy. Like it would make so much sense. It would give Snoke a meaning. And like I said yesterday, I was like, I kind of don't want Snoke to be Plagueis because everyone's talked about it. But if they do it in this way, I think it'd be really good because I think that's super satisfying to have him die and then come back again. And then I'd be like, oh, that's
but he's
good.
more disfigured each time, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the Game of Thrones way, where they bring people back to life, then a bit of them goes each time.
Yeah. So he'd be all fucked up. So how many times has he tried to bring himself back to life since
I feel like
Palpatine killed him?
Well, you could imagine it might be more than once.
That's true. What I mean? He could explain that as well. He could say, like, you know...
Yeah, I think so.
That'd be fucking cool.
I think so. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, there's ways you can fix this, and I'm going to wait till this next movie comes out. Until it's over... See, this is the thing. I do not want to sit here and tell you right now where I rank The Last Jedi, because it totally depends how this whole story wraps up as to where this movie sits.
It's in my top 5.
I'm not saying anything. I don't know. I like it better than all the prequel movies.
It has to be in my top 5. It has to be.
All I know is I like it better than all the prequel movies. And we've got 6 other ones, you know, including Rogue One, these 2, and then the original trilogy. It's in there. It's in these 6 good ones.
I like it more than Force Awakens.
Sure. I don't know. I'm going to wait and see. I need to see this whole trilogy together. And
I don't think even if Episode 9's really bad, I'll dislike this movie much more. I think that there'll be certain points that it will annoy me more.
I think Force Awakens is has no dull moments in it. It's way more entertaining for the whole thing. I feel like there's higher moments in The Last Jedi and there's lower moments.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't know. I don't know if I like it better.
I like them both.
I like them both a lot. And I want to like them both a lot, and I do. So it is what it is. That's it. There's our thoughts, ladies and gentlemen.
We did it.
On the last Jedi, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. What did you all think in the comments below? Let us know if you liked it. If you didn't, don't say anything and fuck out of my life. No, I'm just joking.
And don't dislike because you disagree with us. That would really upset me.
It wouldn't upset me if you don't like this podcast. I don't give a fuck. Do what you want.
It's not your channel. You don't have to deal with it. You don't have to deal with the self-confidence.
It's also my podcast, but yeah, it's no big deal. That's all right.
All right. Well, but anyway, for everyone listening on YouTube, if you did enjoy this and you want extra podcasts like this, then you can head over to patreon.com/as always. Link in the description. Will we put this on iTunes or not?
Yeah.
Did we do it with Spider-Man?
Yeah, we did.
We did?
Let me check.
If we did, then we'll do it.
I'm pretty sure you did. I mean, you bloody put the 2-year highlights on there, so...
I did. That's a long laugh. That's what that is. A
long laugh.
It's a long laugh.
Spider-Man Homecoming spoiler-free review. Kill Connor Club special spot. Yeah, it's on iTunes. Yeah, it's on there. Yeah,
all right, we'll put this one on there. Okay, well, like I said, patreon.com/as always. Top link in the description for anyone that wants extra podcasts and to help us out as well by supporting us over there. And some of you, sweet vintage lads, we have are Ben or Modorox, Ballsack47, T-Man or Travis, Kizek, Billy the Team Dynamite Captain Robertson, Josh DeVilliers, Damien, Mario5380, Lumistrad, Brian Ford, Connor DeRose, Ginger Nut Jared, George Orlonged Fox, Joshua Mora, Gene, Marcus Blackburn, The Humble Worm, Nimbus, Seth, Tom Cunningham, Oscar, Ravjai, Zach Neely, Son of a Bitch OG Adogo, Tyler Tranter, Brendan or BQ Overlord, and Pink Flame 313. Thank you, you sweet vintage lads, for the support. And on YouTube, if you liked it, like the video, the thing, and send it to your mum. Maybe she'll.
And we'll have one more special podcast on New Year's Eve. Comes out on Sunday. New Year's Eve.
Does it? Oh yeah, we do them every 2 weeks, don't we? Of course. So we got
every
it
2
the
weeks,
17th and then the 31st.
But we're going to record that this week, and then we're going to have at least 4 weeks off a podcast. Fucking yay.
And then we're back with the Kill Connor Club in the new
Not that
year.
I don't love podcasting, but when you've done 60 in a year, I'm ready to take a break.
Yeah, so I'm fucking sick of you now.
Okay. No, that's not I meant. That hurts my feelings.
Sorry, mate. I apologise.
That's right. Thanks, Greg Miller.
Right.
Did he do it? He did. He fucking did it.
I feel like if either of us were Greg Miller, it would be you. I'm the controversial one.
Yeah, but you're racist. No.
I'm racist to women.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, no, I disagree. I mean, I don't think either of us are Greg Miller or Colin Moriarty.
Yeah.
I think we've both proven we have each other's backs, so I think we're okay, to be honest.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Neither of us are spineless snakes, so
yeah. At least that's what we think.
Dun dun dun.
And we'll see you all next time. Peace.
Okay, don't say peace.